Hey everyone, ever found yourself wishing you could say something simple in Korean, like, I want to go to Korea, or maybe I want to watch a movie? Well, you're in luck. Today, we are going to break down one of the most useful, most common phrases you'll ever learn. It's an absolute game changer, so let's just dive right in.
So let me start by asking you a question. Just think about it for a second. What do you want to do today? Seriously, maybe you want to grab a coffee, maybe you just want to go home and relax. Go ahead and get that idea in your head. Because today, we're going to learn exactly how to express that thought in Korean. This phrase, I want to, is everywhere. You'll hear it in K-dramas, in songs, in everyday conversations. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll be able to use it like a pro.
Okay, first things first, let's get into the grammar rule itself. This is the foundation for everything we're about to do, so let's see how it all clicks together. So the magic phrase is go 싶어요. Let's try saying that nice and slow. Ready? Go. Go 싶어요. One more time. Go 싶어요. It basically means want to or would like to, and it's a perfectly polite, standard way to say what you'd like to do.
So how do we actually build a sentence with this? Honestly, it is so much easier than you might think. You just take a verb, drop the die at the end to get its stem, and then you just attach go 싶어요. That's it. So 가다, which means to go, becomes 가고 싶어요. I want to go. And if you don't want to do something, just as easy. You use go 싶지 않아요. And if you wanted to do something in the past, it's go 싶었어요. See? It's a really consistent and friendly pattern. Now, here is a super important tip. You've got to remember this. This grammar pattern only works with action verbs. You know, verbs like to go, to eat, to see. You can't use it with adjectives. So you can say you want to do something, but you can't use this to say you want to be pretty. That's a whole other grammar rule. So for now, just think action verbs only.
All right, theory's over. Now for the fun part, practice. We're going to go through 5 examples together. I really want you to listen closely to the sound, and if you can, try saying it out loud with me. Let's get our mouths used to making these sounds.
Okay, here's our first one. I'm going to say it 3 times, nice and slow. Your job is to just listen and repeat. Ready? Here we go. 한국에 가고 싶어요. Again, 한국에 가고 싶어요. And one last time. 한국에 가고 싶어요. Perfect. This means I want to go to Korea.
Okay, next example. Let's do the same thing. Listen carefully, and then you try. 물을 마시고 싶어요. Let's go again. 물을 마시고 싶어요. Last time. 물을 마시고 싶어요. Awesome. And this one means I want to drink water.
Here's a really common one. You can use this all the time. Let's try it. 영화를 보고 싶어요. Again, 영화를 보고 싶어요. One more time, make it count. 영화를 보고 싶어요. And this means I want to watch a movie. See how useful this is? All right, here's another one you might use when you're making plans. Just repeat after me. 친구를 만나고 싶어요. Let's do it again. 친구를 만나고 싶어요. Last one. 친구를 만나고 싶어요. Great! This means I want to meet my friend. And for our last example, I have a feeling this one is probably very true for a lot of you watching. Let's say it together with feeling. 한국어를 공부하고 싶어요. Again, 한국어를 공부하고 싶어요. One final time. 한국어를 공부하고 싶어요. You got it. This means I want to study Korean.
Fantastic work. You've listened, you've repeated. Now, the most important part, it's your turn to take what you've learned and actually apply it. This is where it really starts to stick.
Okay, remember that question from the very beginning? What do you want to do today? Now's your chance to answer it in Korean. Maybe you're thinking, I want to drink coffee. That's 커피를 마시고 싶어요. Or maybe you're tired and thinking, I want to go home. 집에 가고 싶어요. Just take a second and try to make your own sentence. And to really lock this in, here's a little mission for you. Sometime today, try to write down 3 full sentences about things you want to do this week using our new favorite phrase, 고 싶어요. You know, actually writing it down makes a huge difference. Okay, before we wrap up, let's do one last quick review of all 5 sentences we practiced. This is just to make sure they're fresh in your mind before you go. Let's read through all 5 of them together. I'm going to read them twice. Try to read along with me if you can. Ready? Let's start. 한국에 가고 싶어요. 물을 마시고 싶어요. 영화를 보고 싶어요.
친구를 만나고 싶어요. 한국어를 공부하고 싶어요. Okay, great. Let's do that one more time just to be sure. 한국에 가고 싶어요. 물을 마시고 싶어요. 영화를 보고 싶어요. 친구를 만나고 싶어요. 한국어를 공부하고 싶어요. Excellent. You did a fantastic job today. And that's a wrap. You now have a super powerful tool, 고고 싶어요, to talk about all the things you want to do in Korean. You learned the rule, you practiced it, and you have a mission to make it your own. So, my last question for you is this. What do you want to learn next? Thanks so much for joining me.
Hey everyone, and welcome. So last time we talked all about how to say what you want to do, but what about what you're doing right now? Well, that's exactly what we're jumping into today. Let's do this.
So I've got a question for you. What are you doing right this second? You're probably listening to this, right? Maybe studying? Well, how would you say that in Korean? That's the puzzle we're going to solve today.
And here it is. This is the magic key. The little grammar pattern you see right here, 고 있어요, is going to let you talk about everything that's happening in the moment. It's so useful in everyday chats.
So what exactly does it do? Think of it this way. 고 있어요 is basically the Korean version of adding ing to a verb in English. It's how you show that something is happening right now. That you are doing something.
And you know what the best part is? It's so easy to use. Seriously. All you do is take the verb stem. The part of the verb you get when you chop off the da at the end, and you just stick 고 있어요 right onto it. That's it. That's the whole rule. Now, let's see how it looks in real senses.
Okay, now for the really fun stuff. We're going to look at some sentences you can totally use every single day. And to really help you get the sound right, I'm going to say each one slowly, 3 times. See if you can say it with me.
한국어를 공부하고 있어요. 한국어를 공부하고 있어요. 한국어를 공부하고 있어요. There we go. That means I'm studying Korean. And hey, I bet a lot of you are doing just that right now. See how 공부하다 just smoothly turns into 공부하고 있어요?
친구를 기다리고 있어요. 친구를 기다리고 있어요. 친구를 기다리고 있어요.
And this one, it means I'm waiting for a friend. The verb here is 기다리다, which means to wait. Super useful phrase, right? 음악을 듣고 있어요. 음악을 듣고 있어요. 음악을 듣고 있어요. This one means I'm listening to music. It comes from the verb 듣다, to listen. You can probably use this one a lot.
커피를 마시고 있어요. 커피를 마시고 있어요. 커피를 마시고 있어요.
Maybe you're doing this one right now too. This sentence means I'm drinking coffee. The verb is 마시다, to drink. It just makes sense, doesn't it?
And our last example. TV를 보고 있어요. TV를 보고 있어요. TV를 보고 있어요.
And that one means I'm watching TV, which comes from the verb 보다, to see or to watch. So you can see how this one simple pattern just works for all kinds of everyday things. Awesome. So you've totally got the basic form down. Now let's take it a step further. Because this pattern is super flexible. You can easily change it up to say what you're not doing, or even what you were doing. Okay, take a look at this table. It lays it all out for us. So if you want to say you're not doing something, you just use the negative form, 고 있지 않아요. For example, 일하고 있지 않아요 means I'm not working. Easy enough, right? And what if you want to talk about the past? You just use 고 있었어요. So 듣고 있었어요 means I was listening. See? It's the same idea, just with a little tweak at the end. Okay, I've done enough talking. Now it's your turn. And honestly, this is the most important part. Actually using this grammar yourself, that's how it's going to stick. So here's your mission for today. I want you to think about what you're doing right now, or maybe something you were doing earlier, and then write 3 sentences using 고 있어요. Try to use some new verbs if you can. This is how you really start to own the language.
All right, before we wrap up, let's do one last big listening review with all 5 sentences we learned. This is really going to help lock them into your brain. So just listen carefully and try to read along on the screen.
Ready? Let's go. Read along with me. 한국어를 공부하고 있어요. 친구를 기다리고 있어요. 음악을 듣고 있어요. 커피를 마시고 있어요. TV를 보고 있어요. Awesome. Okay, let's do it one more time. This time, see if you can say them without looking. 한국어를 공부하고 있어요. 친구를 기다리고 있어요. 음악을 듣고 있어요.
커피를 마시고 있어요. TV를 보고 있어요.
And just remember this. 당신의 목소리가 학습의 열쇠입니다. Your voice is the key to learning. Seriously, don't just sit there and listen. You've got to say these things out loud. That's how you'll really, truly get it. You did a great job today.
Hey everyone, have you ever tried to talk about something you were doing in Korean? You know, like saying I was studying or it was raining. Well, today we're gonna nail that down. Welcome to our explainer on the Korean past progressive. So let's just jump right in with a little question. How would you say I was studying in Korean? Don't worry if you're not sure. By the end of this, you'll be saying it and a whole lot more like it's second nature. You know, the easiest way to learn new grammar is to connect it to something you already know. So we're going to start with the present progressive, 고 있어요, which you might already be familiar with. You're about to see how one tiny tweak turns the present into the past. Okay, check this out. It's so cool how simple this is. On the left, we've got 고 있어요. That's your am, is, or are doing. And on the right, our new friend, 고 있었어요, which means was or were doing. See that? It's just a small change at the very end that shifts the whole thing into the past. It's really that simple. All right, let's get into the heart of it, the 고 있었어요 pattern. Now we're going to break down exactly how you build this and stick it onto verbs so you can start using it like right now. So here's the key idea. 고 있었어요 is basically the Korean way of saying was or were plus a verb ending in ing. You use it when you're talking about an action that was ongoing or something that was happening in the background when something else happened. And this table just lays it all out so nicely. The rule couldn't be easier. You just find the verb stem, that's the part of the verb before the da, and you add the pattern. So for a positive statement, 공부하다 becomes 공부하고 있었어요. To make it negative, you just pop in 지 않았어요. And to ask a question, it's the exact same form. You just raise the tone of your voice at the end. I love how consistent that is. Okay, theory is one thing, but hearing it in real sentences is what makes it click. Let's get to our examples. I'm going to say each sentence in Korean 3 times, nice and slow. Really listen, and if you can, try to say it after me. All right, here is our first sentence. This one uses the verb 공부하다, to study. Listen closely. 어제 공부하고 있었어요. Let's hear it again. 어제 공부하고 있었어요. And one last time. 어제 공부하고 있었어요. So, what does it mean? I was studying yesterday. It's a perfect, simple example of describing an action that was going on during a general time in the past. Okay, next up. This one's a little longer, and it shows how you can connect 2 different actions. Listen for it. 전화했을 때 밥을 먹고 있었어요. Let's do that again. 전화했을 때 밥을 먹고 있었어요. One more time. Maybe try saying it with me. 전화했을 때 밥을 먹고 있었어요. And this one means I was eating when you called. This is such a classic way to use the past progressive, right? It sets the scene. You were in the middle of eating, and then that action got interrupted by the phone call. Okay, sentence number 3. This one is great for describing what was going on in the background. 그때 비가 오고 있었어요. Again, a bit slower. 그때 비가 오고 있었어요. One last time. 그때 비가 오고 있었어요. And that translates to, it was raining at that time. So here, 고 있었어요 isn't about something a person was doing, but about describing the general situation, a continuous state that was happening in the past. Let's move on to another super common situation you might find yourself in. Here's our 4th example. 친구를 기다리고 있었어요. Try and get that natural rhythm. 친구를 기다리고 있었어요. Okay, once more. 친구를 기다리고 있었어요. This is a phrase you'll probably use a lot. I was waiting for a friend. It perfectly describes what you were in the middle of at that specific moment. And now for our final example, a very common pastime. Ready? 음악을 듣고 있었어요. Let's repeat that together. 음악을 듣고 있었어요. Last time, say it nice and loud. 음악을 듣고 있었어요. And that just means I was listening to music. Another perfect, everyday example of an activity that was in progress. See how useful this is? You've done an awesome job listening and repeating. But now, to really make this grammar a part of you, it's your turn to practice. This is where the real magic happens. Here's a great little tip to get you rolling. Think about a specific time yesterday, like what were you doing at 7 p.m.? For example, you could say, 어제 7시에 저녁을 먹고 있었어요. I was eating dinner at 7 p.m. yesterday. Go on, try to make a sentence for yourself right now.
So here is your mission for today. I want you to try and write down just 3 sentences about what you were doing yesterday using our new go 있었어요 pattern. It can be super simple, just like the example on the screen. The most important thing is that you're actually using it.
Awesome. Before we finish up, let's do one last review. This is going to help lock all of these new sentences right into your memory. You know, repetition is everything when it comes to learning a language. Okay, I'm going to read all 5 of those example sentences again. We're going to go through the whole list twice, nice and slow. Please try to read along out loud with me. Are you ready? Let's start. 어제 공부하고 있었어요. 전화했을 때 밥을 먹고 있었어요. 그때 비가 오고 있었어요. 친구를 기다리고 있었어요. 음악을 듣고 있었어요. Excellent. Okay, let's do it one final time to really make it stick. 어제 공부하고 있었어요. 전화했을 때 밥을 먹고 있었어요. 그때 비가 오고 있었어요. 친구를 기다리고 있었어요. 음악을 듣고 있었어요. You did a fantastic job today. And never forget what this slide says. Your voice is the key to learning. Don't just listen and read. You have to actually speak the words out loud. That is how you're truly going to improve. Thanks so much for joining and keep up the amazing work. Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever wanted to talk about your day in Korean, but you kind of got stuck on how to link your actions together? You know, how to say you did one thing after another? Well, you're in luck, because today we're going to tackle exactly that with a super useful grammar pattern. Let's dive in. Okay, so picture this. You've just finished work for the day, and the first thing you want to do is just relax with a nice cup of coffee. So you have 2 actions, right? You finish work, and then you drink coffee. The question is, how do you connect those 2 ideas into one smooth Korean sentence? Let's find out. And the answer, my friends, is this handy little grammar pattern, go 나서. You just tack it onto a verb, and it basically means after doing whatever that verb is. It makes it super clear that the first action is totally finished, and then the second one starts. It's all about what happened first and what happened next. Simple, right? Okay, let's break down how this actually works. And trust me, it's a piece of cake. For a regular verb like 먹다, which is to eat, you just take off the da at the end and pop on go 나서. And boom, you get 먹고 나서, after eating. It works the exact same way for verbs that are a noun plus 하다, like 운동하다. That just becomes 운동하고 나서, after working out. See? The pattern is so consistent, which is awesome. It even works the same way for negatives. All right, theory is one thing, but hearing it in action is what really makes it click. So, what we're going to do now is go through some real examples. And for each one, I'm going to read it out 3 times for you. First, I'll go really slow, then at a more natural speed, and then slow one more time. So listen up and feel free to say it along with me. Okay, here's our very first one. 밥을 먹고 나서 산책했어요. 밥을 먹고 나서 산책했어요. 밥을 먹고 나서 산책했어요. And that means I went for a walk after eating. You see how that works? You eat first and then you go for a walk. Perfect. All right, let's try the next one. This should look familiar. 일이 끝나고 나서 커피를 마셨어요. 일이 끝나고 나서 커피를 마셨어요. 일이 끝나고 나서 커피를 마셨어요. Which means I drink coffee after finishing work. So the work is totally done, all finished, before you even think about that coffee. Okay, here's another one. Something you might do in the evening. 숙제를 하고 나서 TV를 봤어요. 숙제를 하고 나서 TV를 봤어요. 숙제를 하고 나서 TV를 봤어요. And this one means I watch TV after doing my homework. Makes sense, right? Homework first, then TV. Let's keep it going with another everyday action. 샤워하고 나서 잠을 잤어요. 샤워하고 나서 잠을 잤어요. 샤워하고 나서 잠을 잤어요. And that translates to I slept after taking a shower. Simple, clear, one thing happens right after the other. Okay, let's do one final example sentence together. 친구를 만나고 나서 집에 돌아왔어요. 친구를 만나고
나서 집에 돌아왔어요. 친구를 만나고 나서 집에 돌아왔어요. Meaning I came home after meeting a friend. First you meet your friend, then after that's done, you come home.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap the main takeaways here. The absolute number one thing to remember is this. With koten onasa, the first action is 100% finished before the second one even starts. It draws a really clear line in the sand. And like we saw in all our sentences, you'll hear it used with past tense verbs all the time, which makes it absolutely perfect for telling someone what you did today.
All right, enough of me talking. Now it's your turn. Think about your day so far. Just pick one thing you did. Got it? Now, what did you do right after that? Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to connect them using go nasa. Go on, try saying it out loud right now.
Okay, to really hammer this home and make sure it sticks in your brain, we're going to do one last review of all the sentences. You know, repetition is everything when you're learning a language. I'm going to read them nice and slow, so please read along with me. You ready? Let's do it. 밥을 먹고 나서 산책했어요. 일이 끝나고 나서 커피를 마셨어요. 숙제를 하고 나서 TV를 봤어요. 샤워하고 나서 잠을 잤어요. 친구를 만나고 나서 집에 돌아왔어요. Awesome. Let's go through them just one more time. This is really going to help lock it in. 밥을 먹고 나서 산책했어요. 일이 끝나고 나서 커피를 마셨어요. 숙제를 하고 나서 TV를 봤어요. 샤워하고 나서 잠을 잤어요. 친구를 만나고 나서 집에 돌아왔어요. And I want to leave you with this one last thought because it is so important. Look, listening and reading are great. They're super important. But nothing, and I mean nothing, beats actually saying the words out loud yourself. Your own voice is the most powerful tool you have. You did an amazing job today. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Hey everyone, and welcome. So today we are going to jump into a piece of Korean grammar that you will use all the time. It's how to talk about what you do before doing something else. It's absolutely essential for describing your day, so let's get right to it.
So, have you ever found yourself wanting to say something like, I eat breakfast before going to school, or maybe I wash my hands before eating? Well, that key little phrase, before doing something, is exactly what we're going to master in Korean today.
And the magic pattern for this is ki 전에. Let's say that nice and slow. Ki 전에. One more time. Ki 전에. You just attach this little guy to a verb stem to say before doing an action. And you know the best part? It's incredibly straightforward. There are no complicated rules to stress about.
Okay, you know, the best way to really get the hang of this is just to hear it in action, right? So we're going to go through 5 really common examples. I'm going to read each one for you 3 times, very slowly, so you can really hear every single sound. Let's start with our first one. All right, here's our very first sentence. Just listen carefully. 학교에 가기 전에 아침을 먹어요. Let's hear that again, even slower now. 학교에 가기 전에 아침을 먹어요. And one final time, just let the sound sink in. 학교에 가기 전에 아침을 먹어요.
So what does that actually mean? Let's break it down. The first action is 학교에 가다, which means to go to school. We just take the verb stem, which is 가, and pop on our new pattern to get 가기 전에, and that means before going. The second action is 아침을 먹어요, I eat breakfast. So literally it's before going to school, I eat breakfast. See how simple that is?
Okay, ready for sentence number 2? Let's listen closely. 자기 전에 책을 읽어요. Again, slowly. 자기 전에 책을 읽어요. And one last time. 자기 전에 책을 읽어요.
So here, our verb is 자다. That just means to sleep. The stem is super simple. It's just 자. We add our pattern and we get 자기 전에, which is, you guessed it, before sleeping. Then the second part is 책을 읽어요. I read a book. A perfect sentence for talking about your evening routine.
All right, let's move on to our third example. Now for this one, pay attention to the polite ending. It's a little different. 운동하기 전에 스트레칭을 하세요. Let's hear that again. 운동하기 전에 스트레칭을 하세요. And one more time. 운동하기 전에 스트레칭을 하세요. This one's great because it shows how you can use the pattern to give suggestions. 운동하다 means to exercise. So 운동하기 전에 is before exercising. The second part, stretching을 하세요, uses that more formal ending to say something like, please do some stretching. It's a really nice way to give friendly advice.
Okay, we're on a roll. Here's our fourth sentence. 친구를 만나기 전에 전화를 해요. Listen again very clearly. 친구를 만나기 전에 전화를 해요. And a final time. 친구를 만나기 전에 전화를 해요.
Let's pull this one apart. We've got 친구를 만나다, which means to meet a friend. So that becomes 만나기 전에, before meeting. Simple, right? The second action is 전화를 해요. I make a phone call. It just lays out the order of events perfectly.
And for our last example, this is a super common one that you can probably start using today. 밥을 먹기 전에 손을 씻어요. Let's hear that again. 밥을 먹기 전에 손을 씻어요. One last time, really focus. 밥을 먹기 전에 손을 씻어요.
This one is so useful. Definitely one to memorize. 밥을 먹다 means to eat a meal or just to eat. So 먹기 전에 is before eating. And the second action is 손을 씻어요. I wash my hands.
Okay, so you've heard it a bunch of times now. Let's just quickly go over the formal rule. But don't worry, it's honestly one of the easiest patterns in Korean, which is why it's so awesome for learners.
It's really just a simple process. First, you just find your verb stem. You know, for 가다, it's 가. For 먹다, it's 먹. Second, you just attach our pattern, 기 전에. That's it. No weird conjugations, nothing else to worry about. And finally, you just add the main action right after. So the big takeaways here are this pattern is all about chronological order. The action with 기 전에 is the event that happens first. It's used constantly in spoken Korean, especially when you're talking about your daily routine with verbs like eating, going, and sleeping. All right, to make sure this all really sinks in and sticks with you, let's do one last listening practice. We're going to review all 5 of those sentences from our examples. I'm going to read through the whole list very slowly 2 times. Okay, let's do this. Just listen. 학교에 가기 전에 아침을 먹어요. 자기 전에 책을 읽어요. 운동하기 전에 스트레칭을 하세요. 친구를 만나기 전에 전화를 해요. 밥을 먹기 전에 손을 씻어요. Awesome. Let's do that one more time. And if you're feeling brave, try to say them along with me. 학교에 가기 전에 아침을 먹어요. 자기 전에 책을 읽어요. 운동하기 전에 스트레칭을 하세요. 친구를 만나기 전에 전화를 해요. 밥을 먹기 전에 손을 씻어요. And there you have it. You now know exactly how to connect 2 actions in time using 기 전에. So here's a little challenge for you. What do you do before you go to work? What do you do before you go to sleep? Try making a few sentences about your own life. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next explainer.
Hey everyone, welcome! In the next few minutes, we're going to dive into a really key piece of Korean grammar. This is the one you need to start talking about your future plans, like right away. So you ready? Let's jump in.
So, have you ever been in that spot where you want to tell your Korean friends what you're doing this weekend, or maybe what your goals are for the week? Well, if that's you, then you are in the perfect place right now. All right, the key we're going to unlock today is this little pattern right here. You see it? It's your absolute go-to for talking about your plans or what you intend to do. Think of it as the Korean version of saying, I'm going to, or I plan to. It's simple, it's super effective, and trust me, once you know it, you'll start hearing it all the time.
So, how does it actually work? How do we build a sentence with this? Let's break down the rule. And don't worry, it's actually way simpler than it looks. We'll walk through it together. Okay, it's really just a simple 3-step process. First, you just grab your verb and chop off the da at the end to get what we call the verb stem. Easy enough, right? Second, you just have to look at the very last letter of that stem. Is it a vowel or a consonant? That's the big question. And then third, you just stick on the right ending based on that answer. And here's the rule in action. It's actually pretty logical. So if your verb stem ends in a consonant, like 먹 from the verb 먹다, which means to eat, you're going to add 으려고 해. That gives you 먹으려고 해. See that But if the stem ends in a vowel, like 가 from 가다, to go, you just add 려고 해요 to get 가려고 해요. That little sound is really just a connector. It's there to make it easier to say, so the sounds don't crash into each other. It helps everything flow nice and smoothly.
All right, the rules are great and all, but practice is really where you get the hang of it, right? So in this next part, we're going to do just that. I'm going to say a few sentences using this new pattern. Your job is to listen really carefully and then try repeating them right after me. Let's do this.
Okay, let's start with our first sentence. Just listen and then you repeat. Here we go. 한국어를 공부하려고 해요. Again. 한국어를 공부하려고 해요. And one more time. 한국어를 공부하려고 해요.
So, what does that mean? It means I'm going to study Korean, which is an awesome goal and probably why you are here.
All right, you ready for the next one? Let's try it. 친구를 만나려고 해요. Nice! Let's do it again. 친구를 만나려고 해요. Last time. 친구를 만나려고 해요.
This is a super common one you can use all the time. It just means I'm going to meet a friend. Perfect for talking about your weekend plans, right?
Okay, this next one is a little bit longer, but don't worry. Just listen to the rhythm of it. 주말에 여행을 가려고 해요. Let's go again. 주말에 여행을 가려고 해요. And one last time. 주말에 여행을 가려고 해요. And that sentence means, I'm going to travel on the weekend. Definitely a useful one to have in your back pocket for your next long weekend or holiday. Okay, sentence number 4. Now listen closely to this one. You'll hear that sound we talked about because the verb stem ends in a consonant. 책을 읽으려고 해요. Did you hear it? Let's try again. 책을 읽으려고 해요. One more time, nice and clear. 책을 읽으려고 해요. So yeah, the verb there is 읽다, to read. So the whole sentence just means I'm going to read a book. A nice relaxing plan. All right, and here is our last practice sentence for this round. Let's make it a good one. 운동을 시작하려고 해요. Again, 운동을 시작하려고 해요. And for the last time, 운동을 시작하려고 해요. This one means I'm going to start exercising. A very popular intention for sure. Maybe a good one for the start of a new week or, hey, a New Year's resolution. Awesome job. You just worked through 5 completely new sentences. So now let's do a quick final review. We're just going to read through all of them again to really help them stick in your brain. Okay, let's run through the whole list one more time. I'll go slowly so you can just listen or read along on the screen. Here we go. 한국어를 공부하려고 해요. 친구를 만나려고 해요. 주말에 여행을 가려고 해요. 책을 읽으려고 해요. 운동을 시작하려고 해요. Great. Now, just to make sure it's really locked in, let's do that one more time. Same sentences, same slow pace. Just listen. 한국어를 공부하려고 해요. 친구를 만나려고 해요. 주말에 여행을 가려고 해요. 책을 읽으려고 해요. 운동을 시작하려고 해요. Okay, you've listened, you've repeated, and now it's time for the most important step of all. It's where you take what you've learned and make it your own. It is your turn to build a sentence. So, I'm going to ask you a question. What are you going to do this weekend? Go on, think about it. Try to make your own sentence using a verb you already know, and then add the pattern we just learned. And as you practice, please remember this. Don't be shy about actually saying your sentences out loud, even if you're just talking to yourself. Because really, when it comes to learning a new language, your voice is absolutely the key to making it stick. Thanks so much for joining me today. Hey everyone, ever found yourself wanting to say if in Korean? You know, things like, if it rains or if I have time. Well, you are in the right place, because today we're going to master that exact grammar pattern. It's super useful, and I promise by the end of this, you'll be using it like a pro. Let's dive right in. Okay, let's start with a little warm-up. Just listen to this sentence. Don't worry about understanding every word. Just get a feel for it. Ready? 비가 오면 집에 있을 거예요. So what did that mean? It means, if it rains, I'll stay home. That little part of the sentence that creates the if condition, well, that's exactly what we're going to break down and practice together today. So the magic ingredient here is this grammar pattern right on the screen, 음연. You just tack it onto the stem of a verb or an adjective, and boom, you've just created a condition. Think of it as the Korean way of saying if something happens, or sometimes even when. And you're gonna love how simple the rule is. Seriously, it all just depends on the last letter of the verb or adjective stem. If the stem ends in a vowel, like in 가다, you just add 면 to get 가면. Easy enough, right? And if the stem ends in a consonant, like in 먹다, you add 으면 to get 먹으면. That's it. That's the whole rule.
Okay, knowing the rules is one thing, but practice is really what makes it feel natural. So we're going to work through 5 common sentences. I'll say each one slowly 3 times. This is your chance to listen, really process the sounds, and repeat out loud. It's all about building that muscle memory. Let's get to it.
All right, here's our first sentence again. Let's really get this one down. I'll go nice and slow. 비가 오면 집에 있을 거예요. Listen again, and this time try saying it along with me. 비가 오면 집에 있을 거예요. Perfect. One more time, just to lock it in. 비가 오면 집에 있을 거예요.
And of course, that means, if it rains, I'll stay home. Fantastic job.
Excellent. Let's move on to number 2. This is a really useful phrase. Let's take our time. 시간이 있으면 영화를 볼 거예요. Okay, second time. Try to match the rhythm and pronunciation. 시간이 있으면 영화를 볼 거예요. Great. And a final repetition. Let's hear it. 시간이 있으면 영화를 볼 거예요.
And this one means, if I have time, I'll watch a movie. See how that if part, 시간이 있으면, comes right at the beginning? That's the pattern you're looking for.
Let's keep the momentum going with our third sentence. This one uses an adjective, 좋다, which means to be good. 날씨가 좋으면 산책할 거예요. Again, listen closely to how it sounds. 날씨가 좋으면 산책할 거예요. Wonderful. One last time, let's say it all together. 날씨가 좋으면 산책할 거예요. This sentence means, if the weather is nice, I'll take a walk. A really great one to have ready to use. All right, number 4 is a sentence I think we can all dream about. Let's practice this one. 돈이 많으면 여행을 많이 다닐 거예요. Let's say it again. Really imagine it this time. 돈이 많으면 여행을 많이 다닐 거예요. And one more time, let's make it sound perfect. 돈이 많으면 여행을 많이 다닐 거예요. And this means, if I have a lot of money, I'll travel a lot. We can all hope for that one, right? And now for our final practice sentence, a classic. Let's give it 3 really good repetitions. 숙제를 다 하면 놀 거예요. Again, focusing on the flow of the words. 숙제를 다 하면 놀 거예요. Excellent work. Last time. 숙제를 다 하면 놀 거예요. Which means, if I finish my homework, I'll play. A perfect conditional statement. You're really getting the hang of this. Fantastic work. You've listened, you've repeated, and you've learned the meanings. To wrap up, we're going to do one final listening review. This time, you don't need to repeat out loud. Just relax and listen as I read through all 5 sentences slowly 2 times. This will help really solidify them in your memory. Okay, here's the first time through. Just listen. 비가 오면 집에 있을 거예요. 시간이 있으면 영화를 볼 거예요. 날씨가 좋으면 산책할 거예요. 돈이 많으면 여행을 많이 다닐 거예요. 숙제를 다 하면 놀 거예요. Great. Now, let's listen carefully one more time just to really absorb the pattern. 비가 오면 집에 있을 거예요. 시간이 있으면 영화를 볼 거예요. 날씨가 좋으면 산책할 거예요. 돈이 많으면 여행을 많이 다닐 거예요. 숙제를 다 하면 놀 거예요. And that brings us to the end. You've learned the structure, you know the rule, and you've practiced it. So I'll leave you with a question using the very grammar we just covered. 시간이 있으면 뭐 할 거예요? If you have time, what will you do? Try to think of your own answer. You did an amazing job today. Thanks for joining this explainer.
You know, if you want your Korean to sound instantly more natural, there is one single grammar point you absolutely have to know. It's one of the most common connectors in the entire language, and today we're going to master it together.
So you can probably make simple sentences in Korean, right? But that next step, linking them together smoothly, that's the real challenge. How do you connect your ideas without sounding like a textbook? Well, the answer is way simpler than you might think. And trust me, it's a total game changer.
I'd like you to meet your new best friend in Korean, 는데. This tiny little ending is an absolute powerhouse. You just attach it to the end of a phrase to connect it to the next one. Its real power, though, is how flexible it is. It can mean but, and, or even so. The magic is that it all just depends on the context. This right here is the key to making your Korean flow.
Now, you're probably thinking, a grammar point this powerful must be super complicated to use, right? But guess what? Nope, not at all. The rules for actually building it are incredibly straightforward. Let's break it all down.
Okay, so the rules are actually really simple. For verbs, it's super easy. You just tack on 는데 right onto the stem. So 먹다 becomes 먹는데. For adjectives, it depends on the stem. If it ends in a consonant, you add 은데. If it ends in a vowel, like in the word 예쁘다, you just add 연데 to make 예쁜데. And then we have nouns, which honestly are the easiest of the bunch. Just add 인데. So 학생 becomes 학생인데. See? Super simple.
All right. Theory is one thing, but practice is really where you get the hang of it. So let's work through some real examples together. Here's how this is going to work. I'm going to say each sentence 3 times, nice and slow. I really want you to listen to the pronunciation and then try repeating it out loud with me. You ready? Okay, here we go with our first one. Just listen carefully to the sound of it. 비가 오는데 우산이 없어요. Let's hear that again a little slower. 비가 오는데 우산이 없어요. And one last time. 비가 오는데 우산이 없어요. So, what does that mean? It's raining, but I don't have an umbrella. This is a perfect example of how 는데 shows contrast, kind of like saying but in English. The first part, it's raining, sets the scene. And the second part introduces the problem. I don't have an umbrella. Let's try another one.
All right, ready for the next one? Try to catch the rhythm of this sentence. 저는 학생인데 제 동생은 직장인이에요. Listen again. 저는 학생인데 제 동생은 직장인이에요. One more time. Maybe try saying it with me. 저는 학생인데 제 동생은 직장인이에요.
And once again, you can see that really clear contrast, right? We're comparing 2 different people. I'm a student is directly contrasted with my younger sibling is an office worker. And that little 인데 connects them perfectly.
Let's move on to number 3. This one is all about contrasting 2 different times. Listen closely. 오늘은 바쁜데 내일은 한가해요. A little bit slower now. 오늘은 바쁜데 내일은 한가해요. And one final time. 오늘은 바쁜데 내일은 한가해요.
This is such a classic example. You're going to hear this and use this all the time. It contrasts today, when I'm busy, with tomorrow, when I'll be free. 는데 is the magic little connector that makes that comparison sound totally natural. Let's try a sentence you might use when you're talking about food. Listen carefully. 맛있는데 조금 매워요. Again, 맛있는데 조금 매워요. And one more time. 맛있는데 조금 매워요. Now this one's really interesting because it shows the nuance of this grammar point. It's not a huge, dramatic contrast. It's more like you're adding an extra piece of information. The food is delicious, and it's also a little spicy. It's a much softer, more subtle contrast. Okay, for our last practice sentence, we're going to see a slightly different use of 는데. Let's listen.
친구를 기다리는데 늦게 왔어요.
Again, just listen for the natural flow.
친구를 기다리는데 늦게 왔어요.
And for the last time.
친구를 기다리는데 늦게 왔어요.
So in this case, 는데 isn't really about a strong contrast. It's more about providing some background information. The first part, I was waiting for my friend, sets the stage for what happened next. They came late. It's like you're telling a little story. See how powerful this one connector really is? Fantastic work. You've done great so far. You've heard it, you've said it, and you know what it means. Now let's just lock all that in with a super quick review and one last drill to really make it stick for good. So just to recap the most important stuff. Remember, 는데 is your go-to connector for showing contrast, giving some background info, or just smoothly changing the topic. It is absolutely essential for conversational Korean, and its meaning, whether it's but, and, or so, is always decided by the context of the conversation. Okay, for this last drill, I want you to just relax and listen. That's it. No need to repeat it out loud this time, just let the sounds of these sentences really sink in. I'm going to go through all 5 of our examples twice. Just focus on that natural flow. Ready? Here we go! 비가 오는데 우산이 없어요. 저는 학생인데 제 동생은 직장인이에요. 오늘은 바쁜데 내일은 한가해요. 맛있는데 조금 매워요. 친구를 기다리는데 늦게 왔어요. Good! Let's listen through one final time. 비가 오는데 우산이 없어요. 저는 학생인데 제 동생은 직장인이에요. 오늘은 바쁜데 내일은 한가해요. 맛있는데 조금 매워요. 친구를 기다리는데 늦게 왔어요.
And that's it. You've seriously just taken a massive step toward making your Korean sound way more natural and fluid. You've got the rules, and you've practiced the sounds, so the only question left is, what will you say with ninde? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.
Hi everyone and welcome! So today we're going to tackle something super useful. I mean, one of the most common and polite ways to talk about your intentions in Korean. You know that moment when you want to tell a friend, hey, don't worry, I got this, or I'll do it. Well, if that's you, then you've come to the right place. Let's jump right in.
Okay, let's put ourselves in a real-life situation right away. Picture this. You're with a friend and they mention they're feeling a little chilly. What do you say? How would you offer to close the door for them in Korean? Go on, have a think. It's exactly this kind of everyday moment where the grammar we're learning today really comes to life.
Well, the answer to that question is this handy little grammar pattern, ulgeo. So, what is it? Basically, it's a verb ending you tack on when you're making a promise or telling someone what you've decided to do, but, and this is key, it's in direct response to them. It's super friendly, really cooperative, and it almost always has this subtle meaning of, I'll do this for you.
So how do you actually use it? The good news is it's really, really simple. You just look at the verb stem. Okay, if the stem ends in a vowel, like the verb 가다, to go, you just stick a geo on the end. Boom, 갈게요. Now, if the verb stem ends in a consonant, like 닫다, to close, you add 을게요 instead. So you get 닫을게요. See? Pretty straightforward, right? Okay, this is super important. The real magic of 을게요 is the social meaning behind it. You see, it's not just about you and your plans. It's all about reacting to the other person and their situation. It's a way of showing, hey, I see you, and I'm willing to help. It just screams cooperation. And that's why it's so incredibly common in spoken Korean. Using this is a surefire way to sound polite and incredibly natural. All right, you ready for some practice? This is where it really sticks. I'm going to say each sentence 3 times. Nice and slow. I want you to listen and then repeat right after me in the little pause. Okay? Let's go with the first one. Ready? 다시 전화할게요. Let's do that again. 다시 전화할게요. And one last time. 다시 전화할게요. Awesome. So, what did you just say? You said, I will call you again. This is the perfect thing to say when you're on the phone, but you have to go. You're not just hanging up, you're making a promise directly to the person on the other end that you'll connect again soon. Fantastic. Let's move on to our next one. Hey, remember that question I asked at the very beginning about your friend being cold? Well, here's your answer. Let's say it together. 문을 닫을게요. Again, 문을 닫을게요. And one more time. 문을 닫을게요. Really good. And this is such a perfect example of what we've been talking about. It means I'll close the door. You're not just randomly deciding to close the door. No way. You're saying this because you notice something. Your friend is cold, or maybe there's a loud noise outside. You've sized up the situation and you're offering to help. That's 을게요 in action. Okay, this next one, this is a big one. It's for when you want to make a really firm, sincere commitment. You can feel the weight in this one. Let's try it. 약속을 지킬게요. Again, nice and clear. 약속을 지킬게요. And a final time. 약속을 지킬게요. Perfect. This phrase translates to, I will keep my promise. It's just so direct and powerful, isn't it? It's a way to really reassure someone. And that 을게요 ending, that makes it feel like a personal guarantee, something you're giving to them right here, right now. All right, let's keep going. Here's another phrase that's just so practical for everyday life. You'll use this one a lot. Ready to repeat after me? 조금만 기다릴게요. Let's do it again. 조금만 기다릴게요. And one more time. 조금만 기다릴게요. Very nice. This means I'll wait a little. Just imagine your friend texts you saying they're running a few minutes late. This is the absolute perfect, most polite way to respond. You're telling them, hey, it's okay, I'm willing to wait for you. It totally takes the pressure off them and just shows you're a considerate person. And here we are, our final practice sentence for today. This is another one you'll find yourself using all the time, especially when you just need to step out for a second. Let's give it 3 good repetitions. 빨리 올게요. Again,
빨리 올게요. Last one, make it count. 빨리 올게요. Fantastic work. And this one simply means I'll come quickly, or as we might say more casually, I'll be right back. You're with someone, you have to leave for a moment, and this is how you reassure them that you won't be gone long. It's a sweet little promise of a quick return.
You've done an amazing job. So let's wrap up with a final review to make sure all of this really sinks in. I'm going to read through all 5 of our sentences slowly. We'll do this twice. Ready? Let's go.
다시 전화할게요. 문을 닫을게요. 약속을 지킬게요. 조금만 기다릴게요. 빨리 올게요.
Great. Now, one more time. This time, just listen to the Korean. Let the sounds and the rhythm become familiar.
다시 전화할게요. 문을 닫을게요. 약속을 지킬게요. 조금만 기다릴게요. 빨리 올게요.
So the big question is, how do you actually start using this in real life? Well, here's my biggest tip for you. Start looking for those little opportunities. Be an observer. When you're with people, look for small moments where you can offer a bit of kindness or help. Maybe a room feels a little stuffy. That's your chance. You can say, 창문 열게요. I'll open the window. If you start thinking in terms of situations, this grammar pattern will become second nature before you know it. And just like that, we're at the end. You are now armed with a really powerful and genuinely polite tool for your Korean conversations. So I'll leave you with one final question to think about. What promise or what simple offer are you going to make today using 올게요? Give it some thought, and more importantly, give it a try. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Hey everyone, and welcome. In any language, connecting a reason to a result is absolutely key. And of course, Korean is no exception. Today we're going to master a super important piece of grammar to do just that. All right, let's jump right in and see how this works.
So, let's kick things off with the big question, right? You've got a cause and you've got an effect. How do you link them together smoothly in one single Korean sentence? Like, how would you say something like, I was sick, so I went to the hospital? Well, it turns out there's this fantastic, super useful grammar form that we're about to break down.
And here it is, the star of the show, so. You just tack this onto the end of the verb or adjective that's giving you the reason for something. Think of it as the key that unlocks the meaning of so or because in these kinds of sentences. It's simple, it's elegant, and trust me, you're going to see it everywhere. Okay, now this is really cool. This slide actually states the rule in Korean. It says, when you state a reason, you use /also. So let's listen to this a few times. Really let it sink in. Just get a feel for the rhythm of the language. 이유를 말할 때 /also를 사용합니다. Okay, again, a little slower this time. 이유를 말할 때 /also를 사용합니다. And one last time, let's really hear it. 이유를 말할 때 /also를 사용합니다. Awesome. So now that we've got the rule down, you know the best way to make it stick is practice, right? We're going to walk through 5 different example sentences. I really want you to listen carefully to the pronunciation, and hey, feel free to try repeating after me in the pauses. All right, let's start with our first example. 배가 아파서 병원에 갔어요. The pronunciation for that is 배가 아파서 병원에 갔어요. Let's hear that in Korean one more time. 배가 아파서 병원에 갔어요. And what that means is, my stomach hurt, so I went to the hospital. You see how the reason, my stomach hurting, is connected to the result, going to the hospital, using that aso? It's perfect. Let's hear it one last time. 배가 아파서 병원에 갔어요.
All right, on to the next one. Here's a sentence about the weather. 비가 와서 집에 있을 거예요. That's pronounced 비가 와서 집에 있을 거예요. Let's listen to that again. 비가 와서 집에 있을 거예요. And that translates to, it's raining, so I'm going to stay home. The reason, it's raining, leads to the result, staying home. Super simple and clear. Let's listen once more. 비가 와서 집에 있을 거예요. Here's an example I think we can all relate to. 너무 피곤해서 일찍 잤어요. Let's break down how that sounds. 너무 피곤해서 일찍 잤어요. And again in Korean. 너무 피곤해서 일찍 잤어요. And this means I was too tired, so I went to bed early. You see the pattern here, right? The reason, being tired, connects beautifully to the result, going to bed early. One more time. 너무 피곤해서 일찍 잤어요.
Let's look at another very common situation.
돈이 없어서 못 샀어요. The pronunciation is 돈이 없어서 못 샀어요. Let's hear the Korean again. 돈이 없어서 못 샀어요. So what this means is, I didn't have money, so I couldn't buy it. The reason, not having money, directly leads to the result. It's a perfect connection. Let's hear it again. 돈이 없어서 못 샀어요.
Okay, and for our final practice sentence. 시간이 없어서 택시를 탔어요. This is how you'd say that. 시간이 없어서 택시를 탔어요. And again, the Korean sentence. 시간이 없어서 택시를 탔어요. This means I didn't have time, so I took a taxi. A perfect real-world example of cause and effect. Let's hear the full sentence one last time. 시간이 없어서 택시를 탔어요. You're doing great. We've just gone through 5 really solid examples. Now, just to make sure this really sticks, let's do a quick final review of all those sentences we just learned.
Okay, I'm just going to read all 5 of them nice and slow. 배가 아파서 병원에 갔어요. 비가 와서 집에 있을 거예요. 너무 피곤해서 일찍 잤어요. 돈이 없어서 못 샀어요. 시간이 없어서 택시를 탔어요. Great. Let's do that one more time. Really listen to the flow and the rhythm of the language. 배가 아파서 병원에 갔어요. 비가 와서 집에 있을 거예요. 너무 피곤해서 일찍 잤어요. 돈이 없어서 못 샀어요. 시간이 없어서 택시를 탔어요. And there you have it. You've just learned one of the most essential, most useful ways to express because and so in Korean. By getting comfortable with 어서, you can now build sentences that are so much more complex and descriptive. It's a real game changer.
So, the most important thing now is to actually use what you've learned. Just think about your day. Why did you do something? Try to make a sentence about it using ustle. That's how you really truly make it your own. Thanks so much for joining me today and happy learning.